of Mordor was, I would say, one of the surprise hits of that particular year. When it comes to licensed properties, video games do not have the best track record, but Shadow of Mordor was thankfully not only a really good game, but just one of the best games of that year for many people, and was just a really, really good game. Now, yesterday we actually had a box art leak for a follow-up to this game called Shadow of War. And now Warner Brothers has confirmed that this game is indeed being worked on by Monolith Productions. Now, details aren't amazingly flush, unfortunately, but we do know that you're going to have a Ring of Power, and we will see the return of the Nemesis system as well, which is definitely good, given that was one of the most interesting parts of the original. And of course, we will see the return of familiar faces and characters. However, way ahead of time, they have revealed the PC system requirements for this game, and I do mean way ahead of time. It is August 25th, and we won't even see the gameplay until March the 8th. It's a bit unusual to get the PC specs 6 months previous to the release, but of course we have seen this before. We're at Resident Evil 7, but I would say just keep it tucked under your hat that they may change. But if they're revealing them this early, they must be fairly confident that they're not going to change too drastically. And to be honest, the specs are pretty low tier. Well, I say mid tier. I don't want to say like, oh yeah, it uses a graphics card from 10 years ago. But they do point to the graphics not being the most cutting edge. But, you know, you're not really playing a game for that. You're playing it for, well, gameplay. Anyway, let's start with the minimum specs, shall we? As we have Windows 7 with the SP1 update for the OS. Processor-wise, you'll need an Intel i5-2550K with 3.4 GHz, 8 GB of RAM, and the graphics card will need to be a GeForce 670 or a Radeon HD 7950. Unsurprisingly, this game is going to be supporting DX11 only. However, it's going to require a pretty damn hefty 60 GB of hard drive space. It just seems those game sizes keep getting larger and larger, and yes, that is what she said. However, let's move swiftly on to the recommended, shall we? Interestingly, it does actually recommend a different OS, that being Windows 10. However, for the CPU, you need an Intel Core i7-3770 at 3.4 GHz, 16 gigs of RAM, so quite the jump again there. And for the graphics, you'll need a 970 or 1060 on the Nvidia side, or a R9 290X or RX 480 for the AMD side, and again DX11, and still 60 gigs of hard drive space required. So for the recommended, it is a little bit beefier. You know, a 480 is still a fairly recent card, as is a 1060, but they're both on the cheaper end when it comes to graphics cards, and of course, you know, they're not listing a 1070 or a 1080 or what have you, like I've seen before. So I would say the specs are manageable for the recommended, and the RAM amounts, well, as I've said previously in the last couple of specs videos, there's been a tendency in recent years to overplay the amount of RAM required for some reason. So if you're unsure if your machine can handle it, as always, just wait for the reviews, wait for PC reports and performance reviews and so on, and then you'll probably have a better idea of what you have to do to actually get this game running well on your system. But I would say this recommended specs are manageable, not too bad at all. Personally, I'm just happy that this game is getting a sequel. It was really, really good, and I've got to say that this is looking rather tasty. Let me know your thoughts and opinions as always though, guys. But just quick sort of PSA, and I'll probably add a note at the start of the video as well. I'm going to be not showing the actual trailer for this, because when it comes to that, Warner Brothers aren't the best, and I would fully expect them to kind of get a bit funny with me about copyright. So if you're wondering why I haven't shown that, that's the reason. There will be a link below to the new trailer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.